going to play Phase Rush. We'll see if he decides to go Cleanse or not, because there is a ton of CC between the Galio taunt, the Thresh hook. We'll find out if PowerOfEvil feels safe enough to go for the teleport.
I really like the Galio here, not just to protect those side lanes, but it also makes for just a wonderful team fighting mechanism as well. If you're able to toss Thresh in there like a bowling ball with the Kalista ulti, or even if he takes his own hook into the middle of the fight, instantly can be followed up there with the Galio for the heroic entrance to make sure that they've got quite a wombo there with their combo. At the same time, FlyQuest making sure that they have the Ornn and then the Orianna to follow up means plenty of AoE CC damage potential there from that side as well. So I've said it plenty of times before here on an LCS broadcast. My favorite kinds of games are the ones where both teams have different engage options, so they both have the chance to say, hey, here's where we're going to fight, here's how we will take control of the game, and it'll come down to who does it better.
It's exciting to watch those kind of games, right? You know, it's clear win conditions, it's ways for both sides to succeed, and you have to see, as you say, who can execute. And really, at the end of the day, to beat Cloud9, you have to be able to execute on a really high level. I'm so interested to see how this Pantheon Ezreal lane is going to play out. It feels like the Pantheon isn't going to really contribute a lot in that 2v2, to be honest with you. It does have good gank assist, but it's something where you can get away with a weaker laner because it's paired with the Ezreal. The question is, can you get away with a weaker laner against Zven and Vulcan playing Thresh Kalista? Because that is one of the most high kill potential lanes, and the Pantheon is definitely susceptible too. You know, if you get hooked in as that Pantheon, you can get those spears stacked up, you can go down, and will they give up too much on that bottom side? Too many dragons on that bottom side is really my big question.
And I'm also going to be having my eyes heavily attuned to the top lane there throughout this game with Ornn and Kayle going up against each other. We know how Kayle is just that ticking time bomb for level 16. And then once she hits that point, she has all her items, Gunblade included. You feel like you're dead by the time she's done turning both her eyeballs towards you. One eyeball takes off the first half of your HP, other eyeball, and you're back in the fountain. The champion is ridiculous once it scales up. At the same time, with Ornn on the other end of the table, he's able to make sure everybody's stronger than they should be with all those items. And I think if one of these two champions can really have a much greater impact than the other one, it could completely swing the game.
It really can, and I do think it's potentially a pretty good game for the Kayle because there's multiple frontliners to hit. One of the things that Kayle really struggles against is, well, two things. There's CC and long range, because Kayle is still short range. You know, it doesn't have a lot of mobility. It's not like a Kassadin where you hit 16 and you're just everywhere and instantly killing everyone. You still need to get access, and even during that ultimate, you know, even at rank 3, yes, you have some time to auto-attack, but you can be CC'd during it and locked up, and then you are very squishy, right? So you need to have that space created for you, but I think with the Galio and the Thresh, you're creating that space, and you're allowing the Kayle to have some good targets to actually free fire on with that Trundle and the Ornn. So it could be a pretty successful game, but there is opportunities to punish this Kayle, especially in the early stages, and even throughout the game in the side lane. You know, Ornn +1 can definitely kill off a Kayle.
Let's see if FlyQuest can keep the defeat train going here for Cloud9 and put them in a world where I don't think anybody would have expected at 0-3 in their past 3 games. FlyQuest has been having their own share of struggles, particularly last week, but bouncing back the way they did against TSM yesterday. I do think this team has what it takes if they're really on their mark to make Cloud9 work for it and give us a close game here.
And I'm interested to see, you know, can they look good against Cloud9 if they don't get that monumental advantage? Because they look great against TSM, don't get me wrong, but they did create such a big advantage off of that failed invade and then the follow-up kill at the blue buff. It felt like the game was decided against TSM in the first 5 minutes. And then they did great to snowball the game and to really not make any errors. But can you create that sort of lead on your own, right? Because we're not having any sort of fireworks early on yet in this game, and I want to see how proactive they can be. Can they match the pace of Cloud9? Because I do think that is something that FlyQuest has struggled with at times. They're more of a passive team, and if you allow Cloud9 to impose their will upon you, to be invading and being the one setting the pace of the game throughout, it likely is not going to go well.
C9 getting a ward down early on the red buff of FlyQuest, seeing that it's still there. They know that Trundle didn't start at red buff. They know that he's going to be heading towards that top side of the map, and considering Blaber's Sett will be doing the same, they might get into a bit of a scrap there around the top side, or potentially around that top side scuttle crab. Taking inventory of everything here, you can see that it's 3 teleports on the side of FlyQuest. PowerOfEvil going for the teleport as opposed to the cleanse you were talking about. We'll see if he wants to go with that summoner spell. If he has that much respect for the CC, he thinks he can get away without it. Zven going for a heal in the bottom lane there on the AD carry role, so going to have more combat power, but but not having the same map presence as WildTurtle will here with this TP. And remember, the WildTurtle is currently on 1,499 career kills.
That's a lot.
The first kill that Turtle gets this game will be his 1,500th kill. And that's pretty damn impressive. That's a lot of bodies in the dirt there for Mr. Turtle.
I mean, he has had a really, really good career, and it has spanned so many teams now. You know, obviously most known for his time, I think, back on TSM, but he's been with FlyQuest quite a long time now. You know, even way back in the day, spent some time on Quantic, and I think maybe even when they were first C9, he was with them for a little bit. So, you know, he's been around since pretty much the very beginning, and WildTurtle has had a great career.
Blaber moving towards this topside river. It's Scuttle Crab time, Isaac. Santorin and Blaber both have it in their sights.
This is actually a game of us playing.
Yes, this is like
me on Kayle. Say flowers, don't do it.
It's the full three-man brawl in the river for the Scuttle Crab, the most important objective in all of League of Legends. But Cloud9 will make the call to concede their little green friend, and it's FlyQuest who take control over the area. Santorin secures that one and gets the level 4.
Every time I play Kayle, I'm like, all right, you can't fight the Scuttle this game. Flowers, and Flowers like, all right, let's fight the Scuttle.
I need a PvP at 3. Isaac, can you roam?
I'm level 1 under my turret. I just hear Licorice telling Blaber, please, let me farm.
Don't fight for the stupid
Don't do
crap
it.
and get the other one.
Blaber's like, I see an angle. Get this.
But what if I use my face breaker? He's there. He got the bottom side when he didn't get 2 crab. That's what's important. And now Blaber may look to make something happen underneath this turret here. IgNar has used his shield, but considering Blaber is aware that Santorin is right there at the Gromp, trying to do a turret dive with the enemy jungler just a couple of feet behind is never really a smart idea, and C9 backs away from him.
Intelligently going to back off there, but I like the attempt, right? You know, you path over to there. He cleared the Scuttle on the way, you know, not taking too much of his time, and had Trundle not been in the area, then maybe you actually go for that. So I think it's pretty smart as an attempt. You can see over in the mid lane, Nisqy doing pretty well, already has his first base, and Zven getting jumped on. Should be fine to just back it up, but may have to actually heal, yeah.
He popped a heal there to make sure he stayed alive. Gets a little bit of damage on IgNar there on the back end of that trade. So good job from IgNar spending Ignite for the heal there, making sure that Zven will be more vulnerable for future all-in attempts if they can manage to get Santorin down here and try to make a play. I like it.
Yeah, and Zven actually, you know, thinking, okay, I'm safe, Blaber's here, Vulcan's here, they can't dive me. You can see mid lane, you can see top lane, so does end up staying around. If he did have to recall there, he would have lost that entire wave. It's not a cannon wave, and it was pushed to his turret, so that can be pretty punishing. So he is going to stay around. He does reset that wave. And you can actually see on the minimap, Vulcan moved very far forward. Now, the reason he did that is to actually stack the enemy's wave, because generally when the wave crashes to your turret, your minions will stack up a little bit and push towards them. By moving forward and stacking your opponent's wave, you can help to remedy that a little bit, and maybe even make it push towards yourself, deny some minions from them. So little things here can make a big difference in the lane phase.
Solo level 6, Licorice about to hit that point here as well in the top side, get that first evolution on Kayle. Isaac, I won't lie to you. It is my job to talk about this game professionally, but I do not remember which one of them is Ascendant or Transcendent or whatever we call all the different Kayle names. I just call it more wings or less wings, and she currently has more wings than she did a minute ago, and that means she has reached her first evolution. Licorice continuing to scale up here on this champion. He's got that nice golden aura around him, and the scaling and Kayling is commencing up here with the 2 Doran's rings in inventory just to make sure he gets himself through that laning phase as easily as possible. You can see also there with his runes, fleet footwork, plus the cookies from the Inspiration secondary just to give him as much laning strength as possible, keep that health bar topped off. Solo goes for an early trade, but Licorice can easily get some damage on the back end there now that he's got those ranged auto attacks coming in, as Blaber and Santorin could get into a fight here yet again. This topside Scuttle Crab is the harbinger of battle. A nice 2-man shockwave coming through from PowerOfEvil as Solo fires in the Ornn Horn from above the Rift Herald pit. It's not going to find the knock-up onto Blaber critically there, but the knock-up over the wall will find him. Blaber does manage to escape. Licorice using the Kayle ulti there to make sure his top laner make sure his jungler, excuse me, stays alive. And everybody walks away from that one. Lots of ults used, lots of summoner spells.
IgNar made the roam, so that's why Cloud9 had to retreat. I think they could actually win that 3v3, especially from the position they were in, where Licorice was actually on the inside track. You know, Solo was ulting from that tri-brush, so still fairly far away. It is going to cost them on the bottom side, though. You know, a couple minions will be lost here by Turtle. They lost plates as well, so Cloud9 does come out ahead on that exchange, despite the fact that they had to use that flash in retreat. They had to use some ultimates as well.
Everybody's staying pretty close overall in terms of how you compare the teams, though. 11.8 to 11.6. Couple hundred gold lead here for the side of Cloud9. You can see farming advantages in both mid and bottom lane for them. Jungle's pretty much even. Slight farm lead for Solo, actually, there in the top side on that Ornn. Itemizing towards the Abyssal Mask first and foremost, recognizing that Kayle is going to be mostly magic damage. With the longsword in inventory, I can assume Licorice will be going for the Hextech Gunblade first, as a lot of times you see those Kayles do. So we'll have a bit of a hybrid profile there, at least for a while. Santorin looking to pass off that blue buff towards PowerOfEvil. Does manage to do so. I like the collapse attempt from Cloud9. If nothing else, those can force your opponents to make the jungler smite it so the mid laner doesn't get it. Unfortunately for them, they were just a little bit too slow, and the handoff was successful. But considering their bottom side of the map control, C9 can now take the first Drake of the game, no contest, 9 minutes in.
Good for them, but it isn't really a fast dragon, you know, so it's not concerning at all, I don't think, for FlyQuest. I do actually think that Cloud9 are a little bit behind the pace that I was expecting them to be as far as these neutral objectives takes. They are normally so quick to actually go for that first dragon. I do think it's partially because Blaber was playing up on that top side a lot. Not really to get aggressive, but more, I think, to just protect the Kayle, to get Kayle to 6 where he can start farming. You can see, though, that despite that, you know, Licorice is still down a good 20 CS. He's actually lost 2 tower plates also. So, you know, the Kayle not really doing that well thus far into the Ornn. You know, you're definitely not going to win this matchup early on. There's not really much hope of that happening. But, you know, generally speaking, your goal is to just try to farm even, right? And if you can farm even, you're really happy. In this case, it's not catastrophic, but it's not great.
It's a situation where even's not really even because you're supposed to lose it, right?
Yeah.
Like, even is a success, but
exactly.
A couple waves behind, not the end of the world. Blaber looking for that Rift Herald. Got Vulcan and Zven topside here to help him out. Nisqy also hovering around the area. Santorin thinking about maybe being able to head in here. He's got PowerOfEvil and IgNar right behind him. The Pantheon ulti not available. IgNar still only level 5. They try to go in and go for it. That first smite that you saw there coming down did not quite kill it. Got it down to 80 HP, but it was Cloud9 who secures the Herald there for themselves, and they're able to pick the eye up with Blaber.
Gotta say, I'm a little bit disappointed in FlyQuest there. That was a very half-hearted contest. You don't even have anyone answering Kayle. You walked Solo, who had no TP, all the way up from that bottom lane over towards the Rift Herald, and as a result, you're going to give over probably at least 1 plate. Yep, there's a plate, and that 15 or so CS advantage is now completely gone. So there's a fairly big cost to that roam there from Solo, and I actually thought when they're moving up, oh great, you know, you can actually just hard engage here, try to take that 5v4, maybe get some kills, at the very least get that Herald. Instead, they took the very passive approach, and Solo is going to be punished for that roam as a result. So Cloud9 went out on both sides. You get farm and gold on the bottom side. You get that Rift Herald on the top side. The turret's now low enough that you can actually just drop Herald and even donate that gold over to Licorice to put him way ahead, which is what they're going to do.
There he goes.
You know, this series of events is actually very bad for FlyQuest and puts kind of the early stages of the game from Kayle from, like, not great to really, really good.
Level 9 on the Kayle. Needs 2 more to hit that next big break point. Solo getting himself away as Licorice tears down the turret with the help of Shelly. Shelly will not be able to get a second headbutt off on the tier 2 there. Barely makes it past the ruins of the tier 1 before Solo's able to bonk her one in the eyeball and take her off the rift here yet again. 2 minutes until the next Drake spawns, but Cloud9 building a nice lead for themselves here. 1,500 gold up in the early game. And remember, ladies and gentlemen watching at home, this is not like a situation what we saw last game with 100 Thieves versus Team Liquid, where they have to make sure they commit absolutely no mistakes throughout the game because of the fact that their composition is at an inherent disadvantage if they do. C9 does have frontline. They do have some engage here, so we'll see if they can continue building these leads up against FlyQuest. But Fly do now have that Pantheon ulti, so can they get the angle? Can they find the opportunity to collapse and punish C9 as they continue to push forward here on the top side?
Probably not with how they're actually playing. You know, Blaber is already here. They're going to engage.
Vulcan with the flash into the play, as now Blaber is bringing IgNar back into the rest of the team, and Nisqy has joined. He comes over with the taunt, a nice shockwave onto a couple Cloud9 players, but it will not matter. It's C9 getting the first blood, and first blood for the AD carry feels oh so good.
Yeah, that is great for Cloud9. They're even going to be able to continue pressuring this turret here. PowerOfEvil is around, so they got to be careful. Blaber has no flash. He might just be dead. Yep.
Blaber tries to get out, but it will not work. And there we go. Sound the horn. WildTurtle 1,500 regular season kills with a mystic shot into Mr. Uwu Ears himself. Sett is out of there, and Turtle's holding the trophy.
Congratulations, Turtle. One of the longest careers in the LCS, has had an incredible amount of success, and back here again, subbed in with FlyQuest, looking good. Grabs the 1,500th kill.
You love to see it. You love to see these longtime LCS veterans hit those marks like that. Maybe it'll be enough to give Turtle that power spike that he needs to continue through this game and carry one for FlyQuest here against Cloud9, who are still 1,500 gold ahead. Drake is just about to spawn. You can see some critical item breakpoints being hit across the board. Gunblade for the Kayle, Proto Belt plus Stopwatch there for the Galio, Blade of the Ruined King for Kalista. On the other side, Abyssal Mask done for your Ornn. You've also got that Archangel Staff stacking up there for PowerOfEvil as FlyQuest moves in. Santorin tries to pose a threat, but it's him and IgNar who are now in a lot of trouble. Licorice leading the charge here, chasing after these melee players on the side of FlyQuest who have to fully disengage.
IgNar and Santorin are just not a very threatening duo when there's multiple Cloud9 guys around. Both their carries, Turtle and PowerOfEvil, were actually in the mid lane. So when you see Ezreal and Orianna, you really don't care about anyone else walking up as that C9 squad. So as IgNar and them showed up, and Nisqy looking for a kill on Turtle.
You might just find it, man. WildTurtle caught out, slapped down Nisqy with an easy solo kill.
Just came out of nowhere, TP'd in, it looks like, had the home guards very likely, just zoomed in with the ghost from Spellbook, hits him with the penguin dab, 1,500 kills, but takes him down just as easy.
Nisqy's one of our top BMers in the league.
Top penguin dabbers.
Ever since we added the ability for players to use the emojis above their heads in the game, I feel like I've seen more of them out of Nisqy than anybody else. Which, I mean, that fits the bill to me for Nisqy, because Nisqy's one of the few pro players who, whenever I've been streaming in the past, he will come into my chat and say, I don't know how the hell you play this stupid Skarner for every game, bro. I'd be so bored. He just shows up to BM and then goes on his way. He's like a mystical sage that has to drop by to lend you his penguin dabs and his Skarner wisdom. Then he's off to smash some more lanes and win some more games.
Yeah, Cloud9 in general seem to be pretty big fans of the emotes. Zven loves the thumbs up, I would say. That seems to be his most popular. Just hit him with the thumbs up.
Cloud9 and being meme lords, man. It's just part of the brand here for this squad as they continue building the lead this game. Up to 3,000 gold, 2 Drakes, 2 turrets. Every single metric you want to measure this one by, man, it's all coming up. C9, FlyQuest trying to keep themselves in this game. They got a CS lead there in the mid lane, so PowerOfEvil's going to try to find some big clutch shockwave here in one of these fights for them. Maybe wombo combo that there with an Ornn ulti, but they're going to need it if they don't stop this bleeding here soon.
They have great scaling, so they can still win a team fight, of course. We'll see if they can catch out Vulcan here, but Glasgow there, so he should be fine. So they're not out of the game by any means, but this is kind of what I was worried about with FlyQuest coming into this game, is they sometimes lack that killer instinct, for lack of a better term. They don't always go for those super aggressive plays. I think the Ornn roam for the last Rift Herald was a great example where they weren't willing to commit to the fight, instead backed off and lost on both sides. They may be able to grab this one. Looks like they will, but I think C9 doesn't really care because they're actually getting a turn on the bottom side.
Oh, Cloud9 trying to fight this one, though. Here comes your Nisqy entrance. Ladies and gentlemen, the Galio has landed. Zven grabs the kill onto Santorin, and the Kayle ulti keeps Nisqy alive as FlyQuest is torn into pieces. Zven is picking up so much money here in this game. Triple kill for the Kalista. He has all of these guys' heads on a different spear, just racking these kills up. And Cloud9 will wipe that fight out.
All right, I take it back. Go next fast. This one's looking pretty wrapped up after that fight. FlyQuest had what was, pretty much a guaranteed Rift Herald there, but I think they wanted more because they know it's like, the average value of Rift Herald is, say, half a turret, or maybe a little bit more, 2/3 of a turret, whatever. They were losing their turret on the bottom side, and if they committed to that, you know, and didn't actually base and stop Licorice, they might have lost an entire turret. So I think they were worried about that and wanted to get more. So as a result, they looked to actually engage. They saw Blaber moving over. They do land the shockwave, but it basically just breaks the Galio's passive, and Blaber just uses that as a way in. He's like, shockwave me towards you? Great, now I'm in range, let's fight. Goes on in. Licorice was so quick on that TP. Credit to him, because if he was a split second slower, I think Nisqy actually would have died. Nisqy even had a spellbook barrier and barely survived until Licorice arrived for the heal, for the ultimate coming through, keeps them up, and allowing Zven to just run rampant throughout that team fight and completely wipe FlyQuest off the map.
And you can see that in that last team fight, it was actually PowerOfEvil who did the most damage out of any individual champion in the game. The problem is, all of the rest of his team put together didn't do as much damage as he did. And when you compare that to the fact that the damage meters on Cloud9 are all pretty impressive in their own right, I mean, Vulcan did as much damage as WildTurtle did in the team fight. So this just means that when you look at it holistically, I don't think there's any way that FlyQuest are going to match up to Cloud9 in the current state of the game. 6,000 gold lead, 30 seconds until this Drake spawns. FlyQuest can still give up this one, but that does put them on that ever-dangerous soul point of giving up an Ocean Soul if they let even one more go afterwards.
I think they have to give this one up unless you can find a pick prior to it. I just think you have no chance of winning right now, so you need to try to get some more item completions coming through. You know, when you're looking across, there's just so much more strength on the side of Cloud9. They're going to move forward, take this turret. They have a lot of vision already in the jungle. They'll then retreat back towards the dragon. The reason they're trying to control the space is to stop any vision coming through, and Santorin in trouble.
Oh no, Santorin!
Flash,
Trundle can be pretty tanky, but when you're in the middle of 5 dudes just slobber knocking you, you're not going to get away from any of that. Not with a Cinder Hulk and a Ruby Crystal in inventory. This Trundle is just not tanky enough to survive. And with the enemy jungler out of the picture, Blaber is free to just go in, secure this Drake here for Cloud9. They'll send Vulcan and the rest of the squad over to help him out because there's not anything else to push for, Isaac. The problem is, look at what turrets are left to take nearby. It's not like there's anything else to meaningfully work for right now. Tier 1 down in both mid lane and bottom lane. Tier 2 even gone in bottom lane. Cloud9 now 7,000 gold ahead. They're on soul point, and we are just now cresting 20 minutes.
They are looking really good so far this game, and pressuring up in this top side. You can see multiple members roaming up, but likely Solo should just be able to walk it out here. IgNar has been largely very ineffective this game on the Pantheon, and now going to face check, could be in trouble.
IgNar trying to flash away from this to keep
cloak.
himself alive, but here comes the slam, and there comes another slam. It's just a slam-a-palooza as Cloud9 will find themselves their 8th kill of the game. Solo tries to get himself out of this one. He's not even going to get the second half of the Ornn ulti off. He is taken down. The damage goes through. That is 6 kills here for Zven on Cloud9. This is the Cloud9 we had been seeing for all of spring and all of summer up until these last 2 games.
That death honestly felt to me like you've given up a little bit from Solo. You just saw your support die, and then you're trying to clear out the wave at the turret by yourself when they have Rift Herald. It just doesn't really make any sense. They bought a little bit of time for PowerOfEvil down on that bottom side to get some turret damage, but who cares? You're taking Baron. There's no way to contest this. This game is looking very, very over here as Cloud9 will grab this. Nearly 10,000 gold ahead at this point. More item completions are coming through. Licorice is level 13. You know, he's working towards that Rage Blade. The Kayle, you know, really hasn't even been that big of a factor in the game thus far, and that is still kind of looming in that distance. The level 16 coming up, but everyone else is so fed, so who cares?
3 levels to go, and then even if you take down that monstrous Kayle, you've got 6-0 and 2 Zven with Blade of the Ruined King, Runaan's Hurricane, and working on his 3rd completed item right now, currently sitting on a maximum bounty already of plus 700 extra gold. And let's not forget about Nisqy either. This Galio is nothing to joke around with this game, having some big ultis, having a lot of presence in the fights, being saved by Licorice when necessary. We remember the solo kill he got onto Turtle earlier. He's been having a big role here too, and honestly, Cloud9 seems back in the form that we expect him to be.
They do, and one of the problems I think also here for FlyQuest is that you drafted this losing 2v2. You drafted for the Pantheon, who's supposed to be having pressure elsewhere with roams and with ultimates. We haven't seen anything, right?
Nope.
And IgNar even actually spent less time in lane to donate solo experience to Turtle. As a result, he's really underleveled because they aren't winning any fights. He's not getting experience elsewhere from kills and from assists. So he's level 8. Great. Are you going to ult in on the level 14 Licorice or Galio now when you're level 8, right? Like, he's 3 levels behind the second lowest person, which is the support on the other team.
Right. Now Vulcan finds the hook onto Santorin, who goes into the stopwatch to stay alive after losing half of his HP. Pretty important defensive cooldown gone for the rest of the game there, as Cloud9 will continue pushing in both mid and top. Nisqy being the one to keep his mid lane enchanted with the Baron buff as the rest of the team tries to put the damage into the tier 3 there in the top lane. FlyQuest holding on for now. Solo stepping up there in mid lane, trying to keep Nisqy as far away as possible. The waves are a little bit staggered here, so FlyQuest can try to bounce back and forth in between the two lanes, taking care of them, but Cloud9 seem to be completely undeterred. They will just continue putting as much pressure on FlyQuest as humanly possible. And unless Cloud9 makes some sort of large error now, with this being a 10,000 gold lead 23 minutes into the game, it seems pretty over here for the FlyQuest boys.
Yeah, it would probably have to be a series of errors, honestly. I don't even think that like one teamfight loss is enough unless like 5-0 into Baron, into something else, because 1 minute on Soul, they're going to push in here pretty uncontested. They likely will be able to defend this mid lane inhibitor because Kayle's still on the top side and there's multiple extra members coming here from FlyQuest. But as you send too many members mid, then the side lanes get pressured, and now Cloud9 can move forward and secure this mid lane inhibitor here. After this pressure, they know that FlyQuest hasn't been out on the map for a really long time, so there's no vision whatsoever over by that dragon either, which means FlyQuest is going to have such a hard time making their way over to even have a chance at stopping the Soul.
You say there's no vision whatsoever by this dragon. There's no vision whatsoever ever.
They have a
if you look at the two wards, they're keeping a nice eye on those 2 rocks inside their base. They've got vision on those rocks forever. But anything outside of rock control is beyond FlyQuest at this point. As Licorice finds himself jumped on by a 4-man collapse from FlyQuest, they will finally grab themselves their second kill. They will shut down that Kayle, but at what cost? Now, they've given Cloud9 the opportunity to go after the Drake, but Cloud9, they're deciding they want to go for the 4v5 anyway. Zven's going godlike. FlyQuest is going down. Blaber is going aggressive into the back line. PowerOfEvil trying to run himself away as Nisqy stands there trying to get the last little bit of damage onto Solo and Santorin. It goes through. He's found himself a killing spree, and now Cloud9 will chase Santorin down to that Drake area. They will pick up their Ocean Soul. I don't know if they're going to be concerned about Trundle or not. They might just let him run into the wild blue yonder and be done with him. But Blaber does not seem to be willing to let that happen here today. He has a Hex Flash. Could just go over the wall here. There he goes. But Santorin will successfully execute.
Good use of emotes there from Santorin, the thumbs up into the well played. I like it. Give him credit for that. Why take the chance if you're Cloud9? You don't know if he has Smite or not because you're not going to track both charges. It's such a tiny chance that he's actually able to steal it, but Blaber chasing him out, letting Zven solo that dragon means there's no opportunity whatsoever for Santorin to ever steal that. You now have Soul, you're 10k up, you are running over the map. Licorice is on 3 items, closing in on that 16 for Kayle, and really, there are just way too many strengths in Cloud9's team right now. You have Zven on double lifesteal. He just finished his Bloodthirster. He had many thousands of gold to spend, even bought the Aegis on top. So it's going to be really difficult to take him down. If you focus everything and pick off Zven somehow, you still have to deal with Licorice and Nisqy, who are ridiculously strong. I just don't think FlyQuest really has a way to answer at all.
Cloud9, if this team truly is back at the top of their game, you would expect them to probably finish the game here on the next push. They've been known for finishing games out around 30 minutes, if not before. So you can see with all of them grouped up there, pushing towards that top side, looking at that second inhibitor here of this game. That's probably what they're going for. Blaber with the Hex Flash over the wall won't find the opportunity to grab anybody with the ulti, but Cloud9 still continues their push up as Licorice stays separated from the other team, just escorting those super minions in, and importantly, picking up some solo EXP to continue scaling towards 16, but Blaber's deciding it's time to go for the fight. Now it's Nisqy in the back line, looking to find the big taunt onto everybody here in FlyQuest. PowerOfEvil's already gone, Solo tries to tank up there, but he won't be tanking anything that matters. Cloud9, they found the enemy mid laner, and now they're going for the end of the game. Nexus turret number 1. There's your target, and it will not stand for too much longer. FlyQuest, you can either make your defense right here or wait in the fountain for it to end. Either way, outcome will be the same. Solo's gonna drop. Turtle stuck in the fountain. Santorin stuck right there beside him. Nisqy goes up into the air, gives him an angry bumblebee just because why not? Cloud9 look good after this game in a 27-minute win.
Cloud9 fans going to breathe a collective sigh of relief after that one. The losing streak is over for now. They have a really strong game here against FlyQuest, and I think that is one that felt more like classic C9. I will say I'm a little bit disappointed with how FlyQuest played. It felt like they were too hesitant. You know, drafting some aggressive forms of engage, like this Pantheon support. You need to be willing to play to your comp. If you want to just sit back and AFK it up, why play that at all, right? Why not play more of a laning option that can allow the Ezreal to kind of stay more even in that laning 2v2? Because that was a lot of the issue, and you give Galio over to Nisqy, he's going to be able to work very well with Blaber. We saw that duo working out many, many times throughout the game, and they even had the late game insurance of Licorice, which honestly they didn't really even need. So this is just a solid game overall from Cloud9.
Yep, we've praised Cloud9 for their team play plenty of times in the past, particularly this year with their dominance in spring and their really strong performance here in summer as well. And this game seemed to just be another really good example of that. But now we're going to take a break, and on the other side, we will hear from the winning team in our Verizon post-game interview. You don't want to miss it.